Tonight, our special coverage on Israel's war on Palestine as Israel drops leaflets with a Quranic warning to wrongdoers. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed. Today is the 62nd day since Israel started its war on Palestine. Israeli forces have intensified their attacks on the Gaza Strip, hitting multiple areas including the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. An Israeli airstrike on a house in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza has claimed the lives of 5 people. Health facilities and humanitarian aid efforts are strained as the conflict rages on. The Palestinian Red Crescent reports numerous casualties in Israeli attacks near a hospital in Khan Yunis. Video footage shared by the health ministry shows a bombed house near El Amal Hospital. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has refused Palestinian authorities' proposal for post-war governance in Gaza. Netanyahu says Israeli forces are aiming to completely eliminate Hamas. However, a report by Bloomberg suggests a possibility of Hamas becoming a junior partner under the Palestinian Liberation Organization. The report says the coalition may build an independent Palestinian state encompassing the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. The Israeli Defense Forces say they have attacked 450 targets in Gaza yesterday. 2 more Israeli soldiers have been killed in Gaza, bringing the total to at least 93 since Israel's ground offensive began. At the time of writing, the death toll in Gaza has risen to 17,487. 46,480 have been injured. 268 Palestinians have died in the West Bank since the onset of the war. A recent survey by the University of Maryland and George Washington University shows a large number of U.S.-based academics specializing in the Middle East are self-censoring their criticism of Israel. The joint project known as the Middle East Scholar Barometer is led by Professors Shibli Telhami and Mark Lynch. The project aims to assess scholars specializing in the Middle East. The survey shows that since October 7th, 81% of respondents who chose to self-censor admitted withholding criticism of Israel. On the contrary, only 11% refrained from criticizing Palestinians. The primary reasons for the self-censorship are described as concerns about the campus culture and the potential to offend students. They also cite fear of pressure from pro-Israel groups. 72% of those surveyed reported a heightened need for self-censorship. The survey also reveals that anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian sentiments have been more prevalent on campuses than anti-Jewish or anti-Israeli sentiments. Since the onset of Israel's war, external pressure on academia has intensified. Groups like Canary Mission are exerting more influence to silence pro-Palestinian voices. Canary Mission describes itself as a group that documents people and groups that promote hatred of the U.S., Israel, and Jews on North American college campuses and beyond. Israel's military has dropped leaflets over southern Gaza featuring a Quranic verse that has a warning for wrongdoers. The text, appearing next to the Star of David symbol and Israeli army logo, refers to the story of the Prophet Nuh. Prophet Nuh is known as Noah in the Bible. In both holy texts, God punishes wrongdoers with a flood that covers the whole world. The act of the Israeli army is viewed as provocative by both Palestinians and Muslims globally. Some speculate that it suggests Israel's intention to flood Gaza's tunnels using seawater. In order to execute this plan, Israel would require large seawater pumps. Analysts are warning that using large amounts of seawater can adversely affect Gaza's soil and add to the growing humanitarian crisis. Israel has not confirmed its intentions. This is not the first time Israel has used the Quran to justify actions in Gaza. Lawyers representing the Arab Organization for Human Rights in the United Kingdom have formally requested their foreign secretary to apply Magnitsky sanctions against Israeli ministers. Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act allows governments to sanction foreign government officials implicated in human rights abuses anywhere in the world. Israel's Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and Minister of National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir are accused of serious violations of basic human rights. Smotrich, who also leads an extreme far-right political party, overlooks the illegal settlement planning and construction in the West Bank. He has been advocating an all-out war both in Gaza and the West Bank. Ben Gvir is responsible for the Israel police and prison service. He has advocated for the expulsion of Arabs and Palestinians. He even introduced a proposal for the death penalty to be applied exclusively to Palestinians. The lawyers also sent a separate letter requesting sanctions against members of Israel's war cabinet, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Meanwhile, French politician Alma Dafour is also calling for diplomatic and economic sanctions against Israel. Magnitsky sanctions are named after Sergei Magnitsky, a tax advisor killed in a Russian prison after exposing fraud by Russian government officials. Human Rights Watch is calling Israeli strikes in Lebanon targeting journalists as a potential war crime. A report by the rights group says Reuters journalist Issam Abdullah was targeted in a deliberate attack by Israeli forces on October 13th. The strike injured 6 other journalists. The report says the journalists were not in close proximity to the conflict scene. It says they were clearly identifiable as members of the media. The report says the journalists were at the same spot for over an hour before they were targeted by 2 consecutive strikes. It also says there was no evidence of a military target in their vicinity. The report has been compiled by interviewing witnesses, including injured journalists, analyzing videos, photos, and satellite images. Israel has so far not initiated an investigation into the killing, despite previous promises to do so. Evidence reviewed by Human Rights Watch suggests that the Israeli military knew or should have known that the group they targeted were civilians. The report calls for accountability for targeting journalists. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad. Assalamu alaikum.